Pardon me, Mademoiselle Marceau. Can we speak at another time?
I can't hear through this wood. I'll need something to help me.
Does nothing strike you as odd about what you are doing?
Oh, Rudolph, it is a nightmare.
I know how hard all of this is for you. The only good thing about nightmares is that eventually we wake up.
Will you help me to be strong?
You are stronger than I, dearest. You have been through so much more.
My love, my love, my love.
Whatever you're reading appears to distress you.
It doesn't matter.
Not a sound. That isn't such a good idea.
Mille pardon, mademoiselle, but that choice will not gain you a favorable result.
That doesn't... Not a sound.
But look here, Colonel. Your policy in India is obviously self-defeating. You can't keep it as a colony forever, you know.
I don't see why not.
You probably wouldn't have seen why not back in 1776. But America is free as a bird now.
And suffering through one of the worst economic depressions in history, I believe.
You're not seriously suggesting that if the United States had remained a colony of England, we could have avoided a depression?
I don't see why not.
I think I've heard all I can. I think I've heard all I...
Mr. Snagsby is dismayed to see, standing with an attentive face between himself and the lawyer at a little distance from the table, a person with a hat and a stick in his hand, who was not there when he himself came in and has not since entered by the door or by either of the windows. Yet this third person stands there with his attentive face and his hat and his stick in his hands and his hand behind him, a composed and quiet listener. He is a stoutly built, steady-looking, sharp-eyed man in black of about middle age, except that he looks at Mr. Snagsby as if he were going to take his portrait. There is nothing remarkable about him at first sight but his ghostly manner of appearing.
Enough, Schmidt. Detectives are not so superhuman as Mr. Dickens suggests. They are as human as you or I. Now, I will rest for a short while.
Yes, Your Excellency.
I cannot take these towels. It's completely quiet in there.
Mademoiselle, what are you doing?
Michel, you startled me. I'm testing. Monsieur Booth tells me there have been complaints from passengers that the compartments are not as soundproof as they might be, so I am testing to see if improvements can be made.
You are certainly being very thorough, mademoiselle.
I think I see where he went. I'll follow him at a distance.
Were you following me, Mademoiselle Marceau?
In all the time I've worked for the train line, I've never seen the inside of a baggage car.
It is not the most comfortable of cars aboard the train.
Nevertheless, I feel the more I learn about the trains, the more it helps me in my job.
Please, mademoiselle, you are keeping me from my duties. Pardon me, mademoiselle.
Sterling silk. Sterling. I just did. Very appetite. What they say. Very This door is tightly locked. The door to the back. It's locked fast. I think I've...
That guy is the most stuck-up human being I've ever met, even for an Englishman.
Ratchet's a valet?
Yeah, masterful. I'm glad I'm not traveling in the same room with him.
Oh, I like everybody. And him, he is as quiet as a little mouse.
You're welcome to him, that's my view. Deal the cards.
I should return to my sleeping compartment.
Injured, Schmidt. Please stop your fussing.
Everyone, please. The pass is blocked with snow. Nothing more.
Nothing more, he says. Nothing more? I can tell you there will be plenty more when I get in touch with my attorneys. American trains don't slam on the brakes in the middle of the night.
I expect they would if they were about to plow into a wall of snow.
I am afraid we may be here for some time. But this has happened before.
Happened before, has it? What kind of a way is this to run a railroad, I ask you?
At least the worst is over.
Monsieur Poirot, I'm so sorry. I apologize for the train company, for Monsieur Booth, and for me personally.
Calm yourself, Mademoiselle Marceau. I hold none of you at fault. Not even the engineer, who undoubtedly saved us from being buried by the avalanche.
You have sprained your ankle.
It is not Poirot who has sprained his ankle, mademoiselle. It is the train who has sprained it.
Yeah, the reason I do not sleep in the upper berths is to avoid pain.
Perhaps I should have slept on the floor. Thank you both for your attentions. If you would now please to allow me to suffer alone.
If you like.
What can the children of her school be learning?
Was that a cry?
Yes, I think it was.
First, the snow is trapping us. Then, the old Belgian man injures himself. Now what?
No need to be alarmed. Let me have a look first.
Ce n'est rien. Je me suis trompé.
Bien, monsieur.
Is there drama or calamity?
It was Monsieur Ratchet, but he is well.
Then let us hurry back to sleep.
There you are. I've been ringing and ringing.
I beg your pardon, madame. Voulez-vous quelque chose? You require?
There is a man in my compartment.
But, madame, as you can see, there is nowhere a man could hide himself.
I woke up and a man was there. I felt it.
You say yourself, madame, that your door was bolted. How did he enter? How did he depart?
Avalanches, intruders. What's next?
What now? This door is tightly locked. Michelle, who was the woman in the scarlet kimono?
I am sorry, mademoiselle. I was updating the inventory of the Calais coach supplies. I did not see her face.
Has anyone been up and about?
Only you and the other lady. It has been quiet for some time.
Has anything unusual occurred?
Well, there was the avalanche, of course. Later, Madame Hubbard insisted she saw a man in her room, but I could find no one.
Did you hear a thud a moment before I appeared just now?
No, I heard nothing, mademoiselle. Perhaps it was in the compartment next to yours, Monsieur Poirot, perhaps.
What compartment did she come out of?
I am not sure. One of the rooms in the middle of the car, I think. Madame Hubbard's, perhaps, or Monsieur Rachet. By the time I noticed her, she was moving away from me. I am sorry, mademoiselle. As I'm certain you know, regulations require that the doors to other wagonlets be kept locked, so that passengers without through tickets may not change cars. Mademoiselle, please, do not disturb the other passengers. Mademoiselle.
My daughter said it would be the easiest way in the world. Just sit in the train till I got to Paris. But now we may be here for days and days. And my boat sails day after tomorrow. How am I going to catch it now? I can't even wire to cancel my passage. I feel too mad to talk about it.
My sister, her children wait for me. What will they be thinking? They will be thinking bad things have happened to me.
I have business in Milano. A very rich gentleman with his eye on an Alfa Romeo designed by Enzo Ferrari himself. If I am late, I may lose the sale.
Say, you never said what line you were in.
That is very true. I didn't.
We may be here for days. Back in 29, there was a train trapped in the snow like this for a week. The passengers almost starved. I'm told they hunted wolves for food.
There's always cannibalism, of course. I remember one time up near Kashmir, I say. Old man, are you going to eat those rashers of bacon? They're quite nice.
What country is this anyway?
Yugoslavia, I believe.
Oh, one of those Balkan things. What can you expect?
You work for the train company? Yes, but there isn't much I can do, I'm afraid. They'll send out a plow train from Broad. It's standard procedure. I don't blame you. There's nothing anyone can do. Monsieur Poirot is right, Mary. Oh? He said you are the strongest character among us. I agree.
Oh, no. No, indeed. I know one far, far stronger than I am.
Who? Michel, you look almost ill. What is wrong?
Pardon-moi. Mademoiselle Marceau, Monsieur Poirot requests you come to his compartment at once.
What has happened, Monsieur Poirot?
Murder, mademoiselle, of the most savage nature. I have ordered all of the train doors to the outside to be sealed, with the exception of the rear door of the Athens-Paris coach, so that the engineer and fireman of the train may keep the engine's boiler provided with the coal. It would become very cold in here otherwise without the steam heat. The attendant...
His name is Matteo, I believe.
Matteo will inform us immediately if anyone else attempts to depart the train. Fortunately, the only passenger in the Athens-Paris coach is Dr. Constantine here. He has examined the body. Doctor, Mademoiselle Marceau represents the owners of this train. You may speak freely.
Oh, no! Who has been killed?
Monsieur Ratchet. So what shall we do, mademoiselle?
We must contact the Yugoslavian police in Vinkovil Broad.
Yugoslavian police? Are you mad? They will detain us all for weeks while they trample evidence and bluster about with no idea how to solve a murder. If only we were in Greece.
Dr. Constantine, you must learn all you can about the murder.
Your faith in my powers is gratifying, miss. But already I have learned all that my expertise can tell me. I am no detective.
Monsieur Poirot, I appeal to you. We cannot wait for the Yugoslavian police.
They will detain us all for weeks while they trample evidence and bluster about with no idea how to solve a murder. If only we were in Greece.
Take command of the investigation.
Oh, must I?
We both know the longer a crime goes uninvestigated, the more difficult it becomes to solve.
Ah, yes, of course, I remember. You are the student of crime. And what you say is very true. All the same.
You can be on your way to your important case in England. We can avoid delays, annoyances, and 1,000,001 inconveniences for all the passengers.
I am addressing an important medical conference in London in 2 days.
Oui, c'est vrai. Any additional delay would be difficult.
Monsieur Poirot, my job isn't much, but it's all I have. The avalanche, your injury, now a murder. If it isn't solved, I will lose my job.
No, you cannot be blamed. I will have a word with Marcel. You have my guarantee that he will not fire you.
Solve the mystery. All we need say when the police arrive is, here is the murderer.
Mademoiselle, use your own powers of observation. Alors, Poirot, he is confined to bed in the most serious of pain. How can he take command of anything?
In my scrapbook, I have a quote from you. How does it go? To solve a case, a man has only to sit back in a chair and think. Use the little gray cells of your mind.
I have often used the murderer's own words to spring my trap. And now I am caught by my own. Well done. Eh bien, mademoiselle, I will do what I can. I ask only that you do my legwork. This would appeal to you, I think.
You know it would.
I will issue to you the challenge I once made to my friend Captain Hastings. Accept, and we will play a little game between ourselves. You will need to use your own little gray cells as much as Poirot. And in the end, we will see if the student of crime is ready to graduate. Refuse? I will guide your investigations much more. Either way, the crime, it will be solved. It is an important decision you must make now before we proceed. I will not ask again. Do you accept?
I am honored. I gladly accept the challenge.
Excellent. Now, if you reach an impasse, think only, what would Poirot do? Imagine that I am there beside you, offering counsel. It may help. So, we begin. Dr. Constantine, take her next door.
Oh, dear. Someone must have stood there and stabbed him again and again.
There is something in the pocket of his pajamas. Something heavy. I did not disturb it.
Egg.
115. That agrees with my calculations. The man was armed? It is bizarre. Why did he not defend himself?
Regardez, mademoiselle.
I've already said... I won't find... nothing else. I've already...
There is something in the pocket.
That isn't the best place. I've already said... nothing else to see.
I did not close the window despite the chill. I thought there might be fingerprints, and the cold, of course, helps preserve the body. Take care.
How many wounds are there, Doctor?
I make it 12 wounds. 1 or 2 are so slight as to be mere scratches. On the other hand, at least 3 would be capable of causing death.
Some wounds seem to have bled more than others.
You see these 2 wounds, here and here. They are deep. Each cut must have severed blood vessels, and yet the edges do not gape. They have not bled as one would have expected.
Ratchet was already dead when those were delivered?
Some little time dead.
The murderer returned to make certain Ratchet was dead?
The idea is an absurdity, of course. Even one with no medical knowledge would have been able to tell the man was already quite dead.
The wounds are scattered all over the torso.
Yes, and you see this wound here, under the right arm, near the right shoulder. Could you deliver such a blow? I have a pencil if you would like to try it.
That won't be necessary.
How do you account for it?
A left-handed murderer could strike there easily.
But of course, that blow was almost certainly struck with the left hand. Yet some of these blows are just as obviously right-handed.
Ratchet thrashed about as he was dying?
On the contrary, he lay completely composed. The bedsheets are not disarrayed at all.
The murderer had unusually long arms?
Please let us not stray into the land of Poe with his murderous apes stuffing young girls up chimneys. I know something of apes. They kill by pummeling or crushing, not whittling away at their victim.
Tell me something about the force of the blows.
Some were struck with a terrible ferocity as to drive the knife through hard belts of bone and muscle. Yet others seemed to be haphazard and at random, glancing off, doing hardly any damage.
Someone striking with their eyes shut? In a blind frenzy?
And struck so many times with their eyes closed to make sure they had managed to hit a vital organ or two?
Perhaps the killer was uncertain at first, then was overcome with a bloodlust.
Or perhaps the killer tired of his exertions, weakening, yet still enjoying himself too much to leave off.
Could there be 2 murderers?
Perhaps. Some blows could have been struck by a strong man or very athletic woman. Others are weak, a frail woman, perhaps.
Can you estimate the time of death?
It is difficult to say exactly in these matters. The open window, the cold, you understand, complicates an estimate. But I think I can say definitely that death occurred between midnight and 2 in the morning.
That will do for now, Doctor. Monsieur Poirot.
The actress was already dead when they were delivered. The murderer was told that certain Ratchet was dead. The murderer had unusually long arms. Ratchet thrashed about as he was dying, and left-handed murderer could easily strike them. Someone striking with their eyes shut in a blind frenzy. Perhaps the killer was uncertain at first, then overcome with a bloodlust. Could there be 2 murderers?
And that is everything I've discovered so far.
We progress, mademoiselle. Now, let us see what we can learn.
The wounds tell too many different stories.
Oui, the matter begins to clear itself up wonderfully. The murderer was a man of great strength. He was feeble, it was a woman, it was a right-handed person, it was a left-handed person. Ah, c'est rigolo tout ça. And the victim, what does he do in all this? Does he cry out? Does he struggle? Does he defend himself? No. He awaits his doom with the greatest composure.
The box of matches suggests the round one belonged to Monsieur Ratchet.
I concur.
The pipe cleaner and the handkerchief are good clues.
Possibly. What can we learn from them?
Remember the bottle I found in the suitcase?
Oui, a sleeping draught, and the bottle half empty. It would be instructive to learn if Ratchet took his usual dosage last night.
What of the residue in the tumbler? A sleeping powder, perhaps, such as that I found in the suitcase. It might explain why Monsieur Ratchet did not cry out when he was attacked.
A possibility. However, in my experience, the usual dose of a sleeping draught would not be strong enough to prevent awakening if one were violently attacked.
The gun was unfired.
He would certainly have defended himself if he had been able. For now, it might be better if you keep the gun with you for your protection. I would not like our collaboration cut short prematurely.
The broken watch tells us the time of death exactly.
Very convenient, the broken watches.
1:15, well within Dr. Constantine's estimate of midnight to 2 a.m.
What you say is true.
Are the false teeth important?
Only to one who must wear them. And why you took for yourself the false teeth of the dead man is not for Poirot to ask. But I hope they prove themselves as useful to you as they undoubtedly did to him.
The small metal statuette. It is very old.
And possibly quite valuable. Take it with you. Learn more of it if you can.
The footprints outside the window are important.
What did they say to you?
The killer may have fled the train.
And gone where? Still, they must be investigated.
I found the inscription REV 1318 printed on the hatband of his hat.
A curious inscription indeed for the hat.
I found only the cigar in the ashtray. No pipe.
Certainly, this is a clue masculine. Monsieur Ratchet smokes the cigar, lighting it with a round match, and someone else, still to be determined, smokes the pipe, lighting it with a flat match.
The letter H can help us find the owner of the handkerchief.
A clue feminine, so dainty, and to have the letter embroidered upon it is so convenient. One cannot complain of having no clues in this case.
If a man killed Ratchet...
After the sociable smoke?
Then the woman came in later, not noticing he was dead, and attacked him as well.
Also, not noticing that she had dropped her handkerchief. Very fortunate for us that she was so unobservant.
The burnt paper could be significant.
What strikes you as most important?
Not cigar or pipe ashes, burned paper.
Precisement.
But the paper is impossible to read.
It is possible that some of the writing on the paper can be made legible again if the scrap can be protected, flattened, and held firmly in place while the heat is applied. I will need something with which to handle the paper most delicately, 2 objects of metal netting that we can place it between, and a source of constant heat. Collect for me these items, and we will see what we shall see. No, this hat frame will not work. It is not of the proper type. The hat frame must be of wire mesh, a type now out of fashion. No, this one will not suffice. Regardez, mademoiselle. Quite interesting.
Nothing else. It's locked. I don't need any... Splendid.
The hat frame must be of white.
I'll put this into my scrapbook so I can take a closer look at it later. This door... The door is locked. That will do nice. This looks like a puzzle box. Let me see if I can get it open. I don't think... I tried. That isn't right. I can't see... And now to see what was so cleverly guarded. I'll return this after I've discerned if it has any bearing on the case at hand.
A single pipe smoker aboard, and all roads lead to him.
I've already searched it thoroughly.
Regardez, mademoiselle.
Nothing to see. I am having trouble finding all I need to read the paper.
Mademoiselle, you are having the difficulties obtaining something with which to handle the burned paper? Also the two objects of metal netting and a source of constant heat? Poirot can offer to you suggestions. But we have just made the challenge, you and I, and if I help you, it is a point for me. Do you still wish my help?
No, I will try it again, on my own.
Excellent. I applaud your tenacity. Mademoiselle, take care. The ice tongs are far too clumsy. Try the curling tongs of my moustache. There. I give you the hint and progress one step closer to winning our challenge.
The curling tongs have the burnt paper firmly but delicately in their grip. The lamp is now lit. I have everything I need to read the paper.
That is most pleasing.
I have all the pieces. All that remains is for me to assemble them properly.
The good detective...
My heat source is now in place. Now on to completing the paper holder.
Daisy Armstrong, c'est ça. I now know the real name of the dead man. And I know why he had to leave America.
Monsieur Poirot, I have documented that case in my scrapbook.
I remember well the case. 10 years ago, Colonel Armstrong was an Englishman. He married the daughter of Linda Arden, the most famous tragic American actress of her day. They lived in the city of New York and had one child, 3 years old, whom they adored. 2 men snatched Daisy from the arms of her nursemaid. The police were convinced that the young woman had some knowledge of the crime and questioned her relentlessly. The enormous ransom was paid, but 2 weeks passed with no word from the kidnappers. And then there was a break in the case. 2 brothers named Perkinson were identified by witnesses and tracked to a farmhouse somewhere outside of the city. The Perkinsons were arrested at the farmhouse where they and a woman not identified had been hiding. They were tried and convicted. At their trial, they implicated Cassetti, not only as the mastermind of the scheme, but the man who shot the little girl. The tearful testimony of the Perkinson brothers surprised many, but they admitted their guilt. And in America, the crime carries the maximum penalty. During the sentencing, the Perkinson brothers tried to make the escape. Jeffrey was captured, but not his brother Robert. And Cassetti had vanished without a trace. Madame Armstrong gave birth to a dead child born prematurely, and she herself died. The evening after the double funeral, a broken-hearted Colonel Armstrong returned to the family brownstone on Park Avenue, locked himself in his study, and shot himself. A body was discovered in the New York harbor shortly after Jeffrey Perkinson died in the electric chair. It was identified by a relative as Robert Perkinson. If he was a suicide or killed by Cassetti, was never known. Cassetti was still at large, seen now here, now over there, and still more tragedy was to follow. The police refused to believe the hysterical denials of the poor girl, hoping she might lead them to Cassetti. In a fit of despair, the poor girl threw herself from a window and was killed. It was proved afterwards that she was absolutely innocent of any complicity in the crime. Cassetti was the man, there can be no doubt. He had used the same methods in the past, hired men down on their luck to do the dangerous work, but taking most of the ransom for himself, and always killing the victim if the police were closing in. He had many enemies, that one.
I cannot regret that he is dead.
I agree with you, mademoiselle.
Still, it is not necessary that he should be killed aboard one of our trains. There are other places.
Indeed. The investigation continues. And we progress, no? And now is the time for the assembling of the evidence. Collect all passports, gather information about our suspects, seek out any clues, follow every possible trail.
Goodness, it seems to have gotten extremely cold in here.
Mademoiselle, the engineer has just informed me. A rock from the avalanche, it struck the undercarriage of the coal tender. The pipe that carries the steam that heats the train is damaged. It must be repaired, or we will all freeze to death.
Could this be coincidence? Either way, I'd better look into it immediately.